Have you ever wondered about the giants in the Bible? Who were they? Where did they come from? And what happened to them? In this video, I will explore the fascinating and mysterious world of the biblical giants, from the Nephilim to the Anakim, from the Rephaim to the Philistines. You will also learn about their most famous representative, Goliath, and his 4 brothers, whom David and his men slew. Let's begin. Goliath was a Philistine warrior who challenged the Israelites to a single combat in the valley of Elah. He was from the city of Gath, which was one of the 5 Philistine city-states. He was a descendant of the Rephaim, a race of giants who inhabited Canaan before the Israelites. Goliath was not the only giant in Philistine. He had about 4 brothers, all giants. One of them was Ishbi-Benob, who tried to kill David, but was killed by Abishai, the son of Zeruiah. Ishbi-Benob originally translates to "my dwelling is at Nob," or "his seat is in the high place." He was one of the descendants of the giant, and he fought on the side of the Philistines against the Israelites. He wore a new sword and a bronze helmet, and he intended to kill David, who was exhausted from the battle. The next brother of Goliath's I'm going to talk about is a mighty man known as Saph. His name means rushes, or sea moss. He was another descendant of the giant, and he also fought on the side of the Philistines against the Israelites. He was killed by Sibbecai, the Hushathite, who was one of David's mighty men and the chief of the Zerahites. He was also a valiant warrior who killed 800 men at one time. A third brother of Goliath's was a giant known as Lami. His name means warrior or eater. He also had a spear with a shaft like a weaver's rod. He was killed by Elhanan, the son of Jair, who was one of David's mighty men and the brother of Dodo. He was also a valiant warrior who killed 2 lion-like men of Moab. Some versions of the Bible, such as the Septuagint and the King James Version, say that Elhanan killed Goliath himself, and that the text in 2 Samuel 21 verses 19, which attributes Goliath's death to Elhanan, is a scribal error or a later addition. The last of Goliath's brothers was the unnamed 6-fingered man. He was also a descendant of the giant, and he had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, which is a rare condition known as polydactyly. He defied Israel, but he was killed by Jonathan, the son of Shemaiah, David's brother. He was also a valiant warrior who killed a lion in a pit on a snowy day. The breed of giants seems to have been a minority group among the Philistines, mostly of Aegean origin. The giants may have been remnants of the land's original inhabitants, who were displaced or assimilated by the Philistines. After David killed Goliath, the giants' brothers came after David at different times of his rulership. The giants fought against David and the Israelites because they were loyal to the Philistine king and his alliance, and saw the Israelites as threatening their territory and existence. Consequently, many of these giants were killed by David and his men, one of whom was Elhanan, the son of Jair. Elhanan killed Goliath's brother Lami, who had a spear with a shaft like a weaver's rod, according to 1 Chronicles 20 verse 5. However, some versions of the Bible, such as the Septuagint and the King James Version, say that Elhanan killed Goliath himself, and that the text in 2 Samuel 21 verse 19, which attributes Goliath's death to Elhanan, is a scribal error or a later addition. This is because the Hebrew text of 2 Samuel 21:19 reads, "Elhanan the son of Jaare-Oregim the Bethlehemite killed Goliath the Gittite," which seems to contradict the well-known story of David and Goliath in 1 Samuel 17. Some scholars suggest that the original text of 2 Samuel 21, the 19th of May, have said, "Elhanan the son of Jair killed Lami the brother of Goliath," and that the words Jaare-Oregim and Bethlehemite are corruptions of the word Lami, and that the word Goliath was inserted later to harmonize with 1 Chronicles 20 verse 5. Elhanan killed this giant because he was a brave and skilled warrior who wanted to serve his king and his God and protect his people from enemies. He may have also been inspired by David's example of faith and courage and the reward and honor of killing a giant. When Israel left Egypt and wandered in the wilderness for 40 years, they were led by Moses, who received the law and the covenant from God at Mount Sinai. God commanded them to enter and conquer the land of Canaan, which he had promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. However, when Moses sent 12 spies to scout the ground, 10 of them brought back an evil report, saying that the land was full of giants and strong people, and that the Israelites were like grasshoppers in their sight. They discouraged the people from entering the ground and made them afraid and rebellious. Only 2 spies, Joshua and Caleb, returned a good report, saying that the land was flowing with milk and honey, and that the Israelites could overcome the giants with God's help. They encouraged the people to trust and obey God and to enter the land. Canaan was a habitation of mighty men which made the Israelites tremble. These could have been the offsprings of giants who existed before Nephilim. Their identity and origin are not explicitly stated in the Bible, as the Nephilim are the first group of giants that are mentioned by name. However, some scholars have speculated that there may have been other races of giants that existed before the Nephilim, based on some clues and hints in the biblical and extra-biblical texts. One possible group of giants that lived before the Nephilim is the Rephaim, sometimes called the Dead Ones, or the Shades. The Rephaim are mentioned in several places in the Old Testament, such as Genesis 14 verse 5 and Deuteronomy 2 verses 10, 11. They are often described as tall and powerful, with Goliath being one of the most well-known Rephaim. Some believe that the Rephaim were descendants of the Nephilim, a race of supernatural beings mentioned in Genesis 6 verse 4. However, other experts argue that since the Nephilim were destroyed in the Great Flood during Noah's time, only Noah's family survived, the Rephaim were a different group of giants, who were present after the flood. The Rephaim may have been the original inhabitants of the land of Canaan, who were displaced or assimilated by the Philistines and other peoples. The Rephaim may have also had a connection to the underworld, as the term Rephaim is also used to refer to the spirits of the dead, who dwell in Sheol, the realm of the dead. The Rephaim are sometimes associated with the ancient Ugarit, located on the coast of modern-day Syria. Ugarit was a prosperous and influential city-state in the 2nd millennium BC, and it had a rich and complex culture and religion. Ugarit was also the source of many ancient texts, written in a cuneiform alphabet, that shed light on the history and mythology of the ancient Near East. Some of these texts mention a group of divine beings called the Arpum, who may be related to the biblical Rephaim. The Arpum were the ancestors of the kings of Ugarit and were worshipped as gods. They were also associated with the underworld and invoked in rituals and prayers for the dead. The Arpum may have been regarded as giants, as some of their names suggest, such as Arsh, meaning the tall one, and Horon, meaning the cave dweller. The Arpium may have also been involved in a primordial conflict with the sea god Yam, the storm god Baal's enemy. Some scholars have suggested that the Arpum may have been the original rulers of the earth before the younger gods, such as Baal and El, overthrew them. The Arpum may have also been the source of the legends of the Nephilim and the Rephaim, who were the offspring of the divine and the human. Thus, the Arpum or Rephaim is said to be the ancestors of Goliath of Gath. According to 1 Samuel, Goliath was a huge and mighty man, about 6 cubits and a span tall, about 9 feet 9 inches or 2.97 meters. His armor weighed 5,000 shekels of bronze, about 125 pounds or 57 kilograms. His spearhead alone weighed 600 shekels of iron, about 15 pounds or 6.8 kilograms. To put this in perspective, Goliath was about twice as tall as the average man today, and his armor was heavier than the average backpack. His spearhead was more severe than a bowling ball. Another example of a giant in the Bible is Og, the king of Bashan, who was one of the last survivors of the Rephaim, a race of giants. His bed was made of iron and measured 9 cubits long and 4 cubits wide, about 13 feet 6 inches or 4.11 meters long and 6 feet or 1.83 meters wide. This means Og was probably at least 12 feet or 3.66 meters tall, and his bed was larger than a king-size bed today. A third example of a giant is from Greek mythology, where the Gigantes were a race of great strength and aggression, though not necessarily of great size. However, some of them were described as having enormous stature, such as Polybotes, who were said to be as tall as a mountain. He was defeated by Poseidon, who threw a piece of the island of Nisros at him, creating a volcano. The Anakim were another race of giants in the Bible, who who were descendants of Anak, the son of Arba. They lived in the southern part of Canaan, near Hebron. The Anakim were eventually conquered by Joshua and Caleb, who drove them out of the land. The only ones who remained were in Gaza, Gath, and Ashdod. Goliath and his brothers were probably among the last of the Anakim. When the children of Israel attacked and killed the giants, some of them may have fled to other places. For example, some Rephaim may have escaped to the Philistine cities of Gaza, Gath, and Ashdod, where they intermingled with the Philistines. This may explain why Goliath and his brothers were Philistines, but also giants. Some of the Anakim may have fled to other regions, such as the land of Moab, where they were called Emim, or the land of Ammon, where they were called Zamzumim. These names also mean terrible ones, or fearful ones. Some Nephilim may have survived the flood, or been reproduced by the same or different means after the flood. They may have spread to other lands, such as the land of Uz, where Job lived, or the land of Edom, where Esau lived. These lands were also inhabited by the Horites, who were also called the sons of Seir, or the hairy ones. They may have been related to the Nephilim, or may have been influenced by them. I am sure you enjoyed this video. That's why you stayed till now. You can let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.